Lyra and Selene had never been ordinary among their people. On the shining star realm of Viora, they were known for their energy and curiosity. While most younglings of their age obeyed the strict rules of the academy, the two sisters always found ways to escape lessons and wander into forbidden places. They wanted to see everything, touch everything, and question every command. For a long time, their teachers tolerated them because they were gifted. Lyra could calculate complex star routes faster than anyone in her class. Selene had a natural talent for music, her voice able to shape the vibration of crystals that stored memory and energy. But talent was not enough in Viora. Discipline was the highest value, and obedience to the High Council was law. One day, during an important ceremony in the Academy's crystal chamber, Lyra and Selene let their mischief go too far. While the instructors presented a demonstration of resonance crystals to the council, the sisters whispered to each other and giggled. Selene hummed a playful tune, and Lyra adjusted the crystal frequency just slightly. What was meant to be a solemn moment turned into chaos. The crystals glowed in strange colors. Projections of ancient battles filled the chamber walls, and the council members were left in shock. Some even laughed at the sight, which only deepened the shame of the academy. The punishment was swift. The sisters were called before the High Council the next day. The chamber was cold, its walls filled with starscapes. The elders sat on tall seats, their eyes heavy with disappointment. Lyra and Selene bowed, but they could not hide their trembling. "You have mocked our ways," one elder said. "You have disrespected our history," another added. "You must learn the meaning of humility," declared the head elder. The judgment was final. Exile to Earth. Earth was a young world in Vayoran eyes. It had only recently been added to the list of observed planets. Its people were still struggling with machines, fire-driven engines, and wars. To be sent there was the same as being sent into darkness. For the sisters who had grown up in shining towers and floating gardens, the decision felt cruel. On the day of departure, they were stripped of their elegant academy robes and given only plain travel suits. Their small craft was prepared with the barest technology, a navigation core, a cloaking veil, and emergency supplies. No servants, no honor guards, only each other. Lyra clenched her jaw in anger, while Selene wiped away silent tears. As the ship left Vayora and slipped into the flow of stars, they looked one last time at the glowing towers of their home. Selene whispered, "We will never see this again." Lyra placed her hand over her sister's and said, "Perhaps Earth will not be so terrible. Perhaps we will make something new." The journey across space was quiet. The sisters did not speak much, each lost in thought. They imagined Earth as a wasteland, a place of dust and crude life. The Empire described humans as weak and violent, a species that had not yet touched the higher truths of the universe. When their vessel finally pierced the blue atmosphere of Earth, the sisters braced themselves. The ship shook with fire as it descended, clouds rushing past, and then suddenly they saw it. Rolling green forests, wide rivers glistening under the sun, and cities glowing with thousands of lights. This is Earth?" Selene whispered. Her eyes were wide. Lyra was silent for a moment. She had expected ruins and smoke. Instead, she saw beauty, raw, unshaped, but alive. "It is different," she admitted. "Not what they told us." The vessel landed deep in a forest outside a small human town. The cloaking veil covered the craft, making it invisible to human eyes. The sisters stepped out and breathed the air. It was thicker than Vayoran air, full of scents of soil, plants, and distant rain. Selene laughed softly. "It smells real, strong." They adjusted their forms using their natural Vayoran ability. Their tall frames and glowing eyes would frighten humans, so they softened their features, reshaping into figures that looked almost human, still graceful, still strange, but passable in the crowd. Their hair remained silver white, their eyes a pale shade of blue. They wore simple clothes they had copied from images in Earth's data signals. For the first days, they wandered quietly through the town. They hid their true nature, watching the humans. The people were smaller, weaker in appearance, yet their energy was strong. They worked hard, carrying boxes, building houses, driving their strange machines. They laughed loudly, argued freely, and showed emotions openly. "This world is noisy," Lyra muttered one evening as they sat on a rooftop, looking down at glowing streets. "Yes," Selene said softly. "But I think It is alive in a way our world is not. They began to feel something they had not expected. Curiosity, not boredom. Every small thing seemed strange and new. Human food smelled sharp and spicy. Music floated from shops and cars, rough but filled with emotion. Children played in parks without fear of rules, running and shouting with joy. The sisters had come as punishment, yet slowly in their hearts a question grew. Could Earth be more than exile? Could it be a gift in disguise? That night, as they lay in their small hidden shelter near the forest's edge, Celine whispered, "Lyra, maybe this is not the end. Maybe this is the beginning." Lyra looked at her sister, the fire of rebellion still in her eyes, but now mixed with wonder. She nodded slowly. "Then let us see what this world will show us." And so began their unexpected journey. Two alien girls sent to Earth in shame, about to discover something greater than any empire could ever teach. Lyra and Selene had survived their first weeks on Earth by watching from the shadows. They learned how to blend into the crowds and avoid questions. They studied human movements, the way people spoke, and even the way they dressed. Their alien minds quickly absorbed languages, but the sisters still stumbled over strange phrases. It made them nervous to interact too much. One rainy evening, however, their quiet cover was almost broken. Celine had wandered too far into the town center. The heavy rain soaked her thin jacket and her silver hair clung to her face. She carried a small book she had borrowed without permission from a shop, curious about human writing. But when she slipped on the wet sidewalk, the book fell and slid into a puddle. A voice called out, "Hey, are you all right?" Celine froze. A young man hurried over, holding an umbrella above her. He had warm brown eyes and an easy smile. He picked up the book and dusted off the mud. "This one's from the library," he said gently. "I work there. Don't worry, I can dry it for you." Celine's heart raced. She had never been this close to a human before. She expected anger, maybe suspicion. But the man only offered kindness. "My name's Daniel," he said. "You're new here, right?" "Haven't seen you around before." Celine hesitated. She remembered the council's warning, "Never reveal who you are." Lyra's voice echoed in her mind, "Stay hidden." But something about Daniel's calm expression gave her courage. Yes, I am new," she replied softly. "My sister and we came here recently." Daniel smiled. "Well, welcome. If you ever need books or a quiet place, the library's open most days. Come by." That small moment changed everything. When Celine told Lyra what had happened, her sister was furious at first. "You spoke to him? He could be dangerous. We cannot trust humans so easily." Lyra scolded, but Celine only hugged the damp book to her chest and whispered, "His eyes did not lie. He meant no harm." The next day, curiosity overcame fear. Both sisters went to the library. The building smelled of paper and wood, strange but comforting. Daniel stood behind a desk, surprised but happy to see them. "Glad you came," he said. "Need help finding anything?" Lyra kept her answers short, still suspicious. Celine, on the other hand, asked endless questions about Earth books, languages, and even human history. Daniel guided them through the shelves, explaining patiently. He never pushed them to share their secrets. Instead, he treated them like ordinary visitors. Over time, their visits became frequent. Daniel showed them more than books. He explained how humans cooked food, why they celebrated festivals, and what music meant to them. He played them recordings of human songs, some cheerful, some sorrowful. Celine listened with tears in her eyes. "Your people put their souls into sound," she whispered once. Daniel only smiled, not knowing how deeply those words were true. Lyra, though harder to impress, slowly softened. One evening, she watched Daniel help an elderly woman carry heavy boxes to her car. He didn't ask for anything in return. That simple act of care struck her. In Veora, strength was respected, but compassion was rare. Lyra began to see that humans were not weak at all. Their strength was different, born from love, kindness, and endurance. Weeks turned into months. The sisters grew closer to Daniel. He asked about their background, but whenever they stayed silent or gave vague answers, he respected it. "Everyone has their own story," he said once. "You'll share when you're ready." Celine often laughed with him, her voice light and musical. Lyra argued with him sometimes, especially about Earth's history of wars. But even their arguments were gentle, filled with mutual respect. One night, Daniel invited them to a small town gathering in the park. Lanterns hung from trees, music played from speakers, and children ran around with sparklers. The sisters hesitated, nervous about being seen. But once they stepped into the crowd, something magical happened. For the first time, they were not strangers or exiles. They were simply part of the moment. Celine danced with the children, her laughter ringing out. Lyra stood beside Daniel, watching with crossed arms, but there was a quiet smile on her lips. Later, as the three of them sat on the grass watching fireworks, Celine whispered, "This is joy, pure joy." Lyra nodded silently, her eyes reflecting the colors in the sky. That night, something awakened inside them. It was not just friendship they felt for Daniel. It was something warmer, deeper. They had no word for it in their language, but Earth had one. Love. The sisters did not speak of it openly at first. Lyra feared it was weakness. Celine feared it would be impossible for them, as aliens on a foreign world. But the feeling grew with every shared smile, every conversation, every simple kindness. One rainy evening, Daniel offered his umbrella again, joking, "Seems I always find you two when it rains." Celine looked at him with shining eyes and whispered, "Maybe the rain brings us together." Daniel laughed, not realizing the truth in her words and their hearts. The sisters began to understand. Earth was no longer a punishment. It was a gift, a chance to feel alive in ways they never had on Viora, and at the center of it was a human who had shown them more than kindness. He had shown them what it meant to truly belong. The days on Earth passed quietly, but deep inside, Lyra and Celine knew their exile could not last forever. The High Council of Viora never left decisions unfinished. One evening, their fears came true. A faint signal reached their small craft hidden under the cloaking veil in the forest. Lyra was the first to notice. She pressed her hand against the crystal console, and the ship's systems flickered awake. The message carried the voice of the head elder. "Lyra, Celine, your time of punishment is over. A retrieval vessel will arrive within 3 Earth days. You will return to Viora. Prepare yourselves," the words echoed in the silent cabin. Celine lowered her eyes. Lyra clenched her fists. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Celine whispered, "Return? After all we have seen? After all we have felt?" Lyra's voice was heavy. "If we refuse, we will be called traitors. They will cut us away from family, from our people." Celine looked at her sister. "But what do we have left there? Rules, cold halls, silence. Here we found something real. Do you not feel it?" Lyra did not answer, but her heart already knew the truth. She had felt it every time Daniel smiled, every time she saw kindness in humans who had so little yet gave so much. That night, they visited Daniel at the library. He noticed their silence at once. "Something's wrong," he said gently.
"What happened?"
The sisters looked at each other, uncertain how much they could reveal. Celine finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Daniel, we are not who you think we are. We are not from this world." Daniel blinked, waiting for her to continue. Lyra stepped forward. "We were sent here as punishment. Our people, they are far away, in the stars. They will come for us soon." For a moment, Daniel said nothing. Then he took a slow breath and asked, "And do you want to go back?" The sisters froze. It was such a simple question, yet it cut through their fear. Celine's eyes filled with tears. Lyra lowered her head. "No," Celine whispered. "I do not want to go." Daniel's expression softened. He looked at both of them, not with disbelief, but with calm acceptance. "Then don't," Lyra shook her head. "It is not that easy. Our people are powerful. If we refuse, they will hunt us. They will see us as outcasts." Daniel gave a small smile. "Sometimes the hardest road is the right one. But whatever you choose, you will not be alone." His words warmed them, yet the weight of the decision remained. The next 2 days were filled with tension. The sisters wandered through the town, memorizing every sight, every sound. Children laughing in the park. Vendors selling food with loud voices. Couples walking hand in hand. All the small details of Earth life that had become precious to them. On the final night, they returned to the hidden craft. Above the forest, the stars glittered, and among them was a faint light moving closer. The Vioran retrieval vessel. Its sleek silver shape broke through the clouds, silent and commanding. The ship hovered above, a beam of light scanning the ground. A deep voice carried through the air. "Lyra, Celine, step forward. Your exile has ended. Return with honor." Celine's heart pounded. She turned to Lyra, her eyes pleading. "Sister, and I cannot go. Not after everything." Lyra trembled. The word honor rang in her ears, a chain from her past. But then she thought of Daniel's laughter, the kindness of strangers, the firework-lit sky in the park. What was honor without love? What was duty without joy? She raised her chin and shouted back, her voice strong. "We will not return." The beam of light froze. The voice thundered again, colder this time. "Do not disgrace yourselves further. Step forward now." Celine grabbed Lyra's hand. "We stay, together." Daniel, who had followed them quietly into the forest, now stepped out of the shadows. He stood beside them, unafraid of the massive ship above. His voice was steady. "They've made their choice. Leave them." For a long moment, the air was heavy with silence. The vessel's engines hummed, bright and menacing. Finally, the beam of light withdrew. The ship rose higher into the clouds. The voice came one last time, filled with warning. "You will regret this. The Empire does not forget." And then it was gone. The sisters stood frozen, their hearts racing. They had defied the High Council, broken the chain of obedience. For the first time in their lives, they were truly free. Selene leaned against Daniel, tears streaming down her cheeks, but her smile was bright. "We are not prisoners anymore." Lyra looked at the night sky where the vessel had vanished. "They will return someday. They will call us traitors, but let them. We have chosen our own path." Daniel placed a hand on their shoulders. "And whatever comes, we'll face it together." From that night forward, Lyra and Selene no longer saw Earth as exile. They built a small life among humans, helping at the library, learning new skills, and sharing laughter with Daniel. They never revealed their full powers, but sometimes, when the nights grew long, Selene sang to the stars with her crystal-clear voice, and Lyra traced constellations with wisdom from far-off worlds. To the townspeople, they were simply unusual but kind sisters who had come from nowhere. To Daniel, they were more than that. They were family, companions, and perhaps something even greater. They had come to Earth as punishment. Yet in this strange, noisy, imperfect world, they had found love, freedom, and a place where they could finally belong. And so, beneath the same sky that once judged them, the two alien sisters began a new life. Not as exiles, not as traitors, but as beings who had chosen love over fear.